Good morning, and on behalf of the Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation, welcome, and thank you all for joining us for the LAEDC's 88 City Summit. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce the CEO of the Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation, Bill Allen.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our third annual 88 Cities Summit. On behalf of all my colleagues at the LA County Economic Development Corporation, I want to welcome each and every one of you and thank you for joining us this morning for what we believe is a critically important conversation about achieving inclusive economic recovery in our region. Recovery that benefits every resident of Los Angeles County. And let's be clear, that does not mean simply recovering the same economy we had before the pandemic. Sadly, that economy, though robust and growing, was not fully inclusive. Despite a truly nation-sized economy here in LA County in 2019, when our GDP exceeded $700 billion, we had one of the nation's highest poverty rates. And even before the pandemic struck, more than 240,000 of our neighbors were unemployed. We can do better in the future. And I know that many of you are already working toward that goal. Most of you in the audience today are our municipal partners. Many of you are members of the LAEDC. We are grateful for our partnership with each and every one of you, and for the opportunity to have a candid discussion with you today about the profound challenges we face as a region. We hope to offer ideas, resources, and potential partners for your consideration on our shared journey towards a more equitable economic future. As always, we are indebted to our sponsors for making events such as this possible. Our platinum sponsor this year is Working Nation, whose chair Art Bilger serves on our board, and whose mission is to raise national awareness about the challenges facing the American workforce today. You'll hear from Working Nation's brilliant president, Jane Oates, later in our program. Our gold sponsors include Los Angeles County Supervisors Hilda Solis, Catherine Barger, and Sheila Kuehl, and the Los Angeles Rams. We want to thank them all for their commitment to helping us achieve truly inclusive economic recovery. We recently presented a report to the LA County Board of Supervisors called Pathways for Economic Resiliency that I hope you'll all take the time to carefully review. It's available at laedc.org. Our county leadership are all hard at work addressing the many recommendations contained in that report, which really help frame our summit today. So we're particularly honored this morning to be able to welcome the chair of the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, the Honorable Hilda Solis, to extend her own welcome to you all. Supervisor?
Hi, I'm Hilda Solis, chair of the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, representing the 1st District. I want to welcome everyone to the Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation 88 Cities Summit. Thank you to all the cities and local government leaders in attendance for your time, but also for your service in the past year. It has been a tough year for all of our residents, and I'm so thankful for leaders like yourselves who stepped up and provided much needed leadership during these very difficult times. As we talk about economic recovery, we must center our workforce and small businesses which have been devastated during the pandemic. Recovery means providing relief and assistance to those who need it the most. This is extremely critical to me at the Board of Supervisors. Over the course of the pandemic, Los Angeles County has given hundreds of millions of dollars in grants to local small businesses, entrepreneurs, and nonprofit organizations. And we continue to accept applications to the LA Regional COVID Fund, which I encourage all cities to publicize to your small businesses. Another issue we must address in our recovery journey is a digital divide that continues to impact our low-income communities. Internet access is a necessity to perform the basic functions of 21st century economy. When we bridge the digital divide, we will help students advance in their education, and we will get more people good paying jobs, and we will improve our economy as a whole. Broadband, as you know, is an essential tool to this effort, and I'm so glad that President Biden has included it prominently in his infrastructure bill. At the board, I have authored several motions to address the digital divide in Los Angeles County, particularly within our schools. I also directed the county to develop and implement a comprehensive regional digital divide strategy in order to delete the disparities because we need both short and long-term solutions to this issue. I believe that our workforce and economy will benefit tremendously when we close the digital gap and expand internet access to all. The current moment requires all hands on deck, and I'm proud to partner with many of you to work on the most pressing issues affecting our residents. Your service, as always, is appreciated. Thank you for inviting me to speak, and take care.
Thank you, Supervisor Solis, for centering equity and inclusion in your welcoming remarks and for highlighting the importance of helping those small businesses and individuals who've been most disproportionately impacted by this terrible pandemic, and for emphasizing the need to ensure that everyone in LA County is connected to high-speed internet. We at the LAEDC agree completely and appreciate the extraordinary leadership that you and your fellow supervisors and the county staff have shown over the past year in rapidly deploying hundreds of millions of dollars of relief capital to small businesses, micro enterprises, community-serving nonprofits, arts organizations, childcare service providers, and more all across our county. Our LAEDC Business Assistance Team and the LAEDC COVID-19 Community Connectory, which we established within days of the emergence of the pandemic, work closely with the county and many of your cities in the audience today to make more than 100,000 small businesses aware of these relief programs through our outreach and direct technical assistance by email, webinars, telephone, and even bilingual postcards mailed to reach thousands of our smallest enterprises in our low-income communities who did not have digital connections. These and other unprecedented interventions help prevent a very bad situation from becoming even worse. Before I introduce our first panel, let me take a few minutes to emphasize the importance of our conversation this morning by reminding you that within about 6 weeks of the establishment of the stay-at-home orders just over 1 year ago, more than 772,000 of our LA County neighbors lost their jobs. Unemployment here in LA County soared to more than 18% in April of 2020, and it essentially remained there for the next 4 months before beginning a slow decline that still finds us with more than 10% unemployment as of the latest available figures in February of this year. In March of 2020, when unemployment in the county was still only 5.6%, as the full impact of the pandemic had not yet been fully felt, our LAEDC economists cautioned that unemployment in LA County could potentially rise as high as 30% if drastic action wasn't taken to help small businesses obtain the necessary capital and technical assistance to be able to retain some semblance of their operations and maintain some portion of their workforce. And you all stepped up with special programs and task forces to assist your small businesses. Many of you provided loan and grant capital, technical assistance, permitted alfresco dining, and offered other measures to allow businesses to shift to models that would allow them to continue to connect with and serve their customers while their primary facilities were closed for public health and safety reasons. Any business that could shifted to remote work and a digital or e-commerce relationship with their customers, but not every business could. Some provide services that must be performed in person, while others lacked access to high-speed broadband for themselves or their employees, or even their primary customers in the case of many micro enterprises in many of our low-income communities. The pandemic quickly revealed to us all just how large the digital divide truly is in Los Angeles County. Students of all ages found themselves unable to continue learning remotely for lack of high-speed internet access or appropriate computer devices in their homes. Micro entrepreneurs who lacked that same access could not continue their business, nor in many cases even apply for the unprecedented levels of loan and grant capital that were being made available through online portals. Who were our 772,000 neighbors who lost their jobs to the pandemic? They were disproportionately young, female, and people of color. They were individuals least well prepared financially to be dislocated from their employment or to see their small businesses shut down. They tended to hold service sector jobs or operate service sector businesses with relatively modest wages and low personal or enterprise savings, leaving them highly vulnerable when their paychecks or their business income ceased. Over the ensuing year, only about 30% of those jobs lost in LA County have been recovered, and thousands of small businesses here have closed their doors forever. Those that remain unemployed 1 year into the pandemic are still disproportionately young, female, and people of color. And small businesses and micro enterprises owned by these same folks were the least well capitalized to ride out the revenue disruptions, and they remain at the greatest risk for permanent closure. Though we do expect a favorable state and local jobs report this Friday, and to see many more jobs return in the months ahead now that more of us are being vaccinated, new case rates are declining, and our economy is being allowed to more fully open, economists across the nation project that many of the remaining jobs lost to the pandemic may never return due to the changing nature of consumer and business behavior that rapidly developed during the pandemic. Shift towards e-commerce, remote working, telehealth, and streaming entertainment that were expected to take years to develop occurred in a matter of months during the pandemic. So if we expect to see all of the residents of each of our cities and unincorporated areas of LA County regain employment in the months and years ahead, we are going to have to invest in both the recovery and reinvention of our small business sectors to meet the demands of a very different post-pandemic economy. And we're going to have to invest in the retraining and upskilling of our labor force at a larger scope and scale than ever before. We've assembled wonderful panels of speakers for you this morning to discuss both of those imperatives. Unless we work harder and smarter to stimulate new job creation and help our remaining unemployed neighbors assess their transferable skills and augment them with new training and upskilling to be able to obtain those new jobs, most economists project that we will not regain full employment here until 2023 or 2024. And we know about the pernicious effects of long-term unemployment on the health and well-being of individuals, families, and communities. So we must do everything in our power to avoid that. We must also take every reasonable measure we can to ensure that individuals and employers in this region will never be as vulnerable again to a future pandemic or a major disruptive natural disaster as they were in 2020. We must invest in the resiliency of our people and our small businesses.